Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. First and foremost, before we even get into the article, I'd like to wish all of the moms out there, and especially my mom, a very, very happy Mother's Day. I hope that all of you are getting to spend the day, if at all possible, with your loved ones, and I hope that all of you are having a nice, relaxing, chilled kind of holiday. Because guess what? You all earned it. Especially my mom, raising a loudmouth like me. Boy, did she earn her keep when I was growing up. But without my mom around to keep me on the proper course, to keep me, walking in the right direction, forget it. I have no idea where I'd be. Because, my pops was out. Had to make that money, right? My pops was always working, always when I was a kid. My dad was always working on some sort of project or, at work, whatever it may be. But my mom, she was always home, making sure to let me know that she would break my ass if I stepped out of line. So I couldn't be more thankful for the mother that I have, and I know that I definitely hit the lottery when it comes to my parents. And I know a lot of you feel the same way out there. So I just wanted to take a quick minute to wish a happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there. And I hope that everybody has as fantastic of a day as possible, because you have all earned it raising your children. There is no doubt about that. All right, so on to our article for today. It looks like our good friend Prince Andrew was playing a little bit loose with his money. Funny, isn't that, huh? How long have we been talking about the money portion of this case here, folks? I mean, we've been railing about the financial aspect of this case forever. And how many times have I used the example of a guy like Al Capone? Sure, you want to nail his ass for murder, right? Of course, that's what he was, a murderer. But at the end of the day, you'll slap him with whatever possible to get him behind bars. And I would not be shocked to see the same route see them take the same route here in the Epstein case with some of these players. And Prince Andrew is certainly one of them. If they can't slap him with the crimes for participating in Epstein's ring, then go after him financially. Whatever it may be, he has to face justice. Because anybody paying attention at this point who doesn't see the writing on the wall, who doesn't understand that this man is a liar, that this man is an absolute fraud, then they're not paying attention, or they're engaged in some cognitive dissonance. Because it is obvious what this man's about, and it is obvious that his finances are tied up with some very devious people. And if anyone thinks that Prince Andrew, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, has been on the up and up with the money that he's received and he's claimed as taxes, etc., well, boy, I have a fantastic bridge to sell you right in the middle of the Mojave Desert. All right, so let's see what the article has to say. This is from the Daily Mail, and the headline is, Prince Andrew's charity is investigated over $355,000 payments. $355,000 payments to Duke's long-serving former private secretary. The author, Emmer Scully. Prince Andrew has faced further controversy after £355,297 paid to his private secretary was branded in an unauthorized trustee benefit. Amanda Thirsk, the Duke of York's long-standing private secretary, who resigned shortly after the disastrous BBC Newsnight interview last year, was given the money as payment for her work as trustee of the Prince Andrew Charitable Trust Pact. Oh, isn't that nice? So, not only is Prince Andrew playing it fast and loose with money, he's spreading around money that from his charity here to trustees in an illegal manner. Does it shock you? It doesn't shock me, and it shouldn't shock you that this information is all starting to come out at once, because that's how this stuff usually happens, right? It comes out in a broadside. And we're seeing that right now with all of the stories starting to break about Prince Andrew. This guy is certainly on his heels. This guy has certainly taken some big bombs here in the first round, and he's shook. He is definitely shook. He can't get his bearings straight, and you can tell that he's gassed sitting on the bench in between rounds, sitting on the stool in between rounds here. So we have to keep the pressure on. We have to make sure that these stories keep coming out. We have to make sure that the public is aware of the sort of scoundrel Prince Andrew is. It comes after Prince Andrew quit public duties over the dramatic fallout from his friendship with sex offender, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. The Queen's third son is also currently in a legal dispute alongside his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, over a £6 million debt for their £18 million ski chalet in Verbier, Switzerland. Ms. Thirsk was a trustee for PACT and director of its profit-making subsidies, including Pitch at Palace, an organization that matches entrepreneurs with investors. Yeah, I'm sure there was no grifting going on there. I'm positive there was no quid pro quo going on there. I mean, Prince Andrew does not strike me as the type of man that would ever have his hand out expecting people to give him some money just because of his title or because who he is. No, that isn't the kind of guy Prince Andrew was, right? I mean, he didn't have some oligarch pay him $3 or $4 million over market on one of his houses, right? Nah, Prince Andrew's too honorable for that. And remember, he wasn't wearing the right kit to be involved in money laundering that day, I guess. She was paid £355,297 in installments over a 5-year period, and there has been no suggestion of wrongdoing on her part, reported the Financial Times. Well, was she receiving ill-gotten gains? If so, was she part of the criminal organization? Look, I'm not saying she was, but these are questions that need to be asked. Anybody that was receiving this kind of dough from Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, or anybody else who's part of this criminal enterprise, I'm sorry, but hard questions must be asked. And especially if this turns into a RICO case the way I think it's going to. If that happens, then there will be nowhere to hide for people like Amanda Thirsk. She will have to answer questions, because she definitely doesn't have the protection that Andrew does, right? So if they find financial wrongdoing here, and who knows what the deal is when it comes to the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, we know that he is playing fast and loose with his money. We've seen it numerous times in articles here, just from the information we're privy to, just from the information that's out in the legacy media. We know that this man was certainly playing fast and loose with his dough. We know he wasn't reporting all of it, and he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, the king of money laundering, the king of washing cash. So please spare me. According to a note on PAC's annual report, the Charity Commission raised concern about money paid to one of the trustees who has since resigned in their role as a director of the subsidiaries. So they were doing their audit, I guess, the commission here, the Charity Commission, and they saw some irregularities in regards to payments to this ex-director. So they popped into their investigator mode to try and see what's going on. And now we have this investigation blooming into Prince Andrew's finances into these charities. Charity trustees cannot be paid just for being a trustee, but might receive payment for carrying out building work, providing a specialist service, providing premises such as a meeting room, or any administerial and secretarial work according to government guidance. Oh boy. You see, again, they like to play games with loopholes. They write these little laws, and they say that they cannot be paid just for being a trustee, but they might get payment if... So they'll slap one of these titles on these people, even though they have no experience in that field, and they'll find a way to get them paid anyway. But it doesn't look like that happened in this case. It looks like Prince Andrew, once again, thought that he'd be able to just skirt the rules and get over because, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family can do whatever he wants, obviously. The payments to Miss Thirsk were considered to be an unauthorized trustee benefit and had to be paid back by the Duke of York's household. Well, no wonder he can't pay his other bills, huh? He's robbing Peter to pay Paul at this point, and he doesn't have his buddy Jeffrey Epstein to lean back on and put his hand in his pocket these days. So Prince Andrew is a man on an island. Everybody's abandoning him. He has no people around him that are willing to step up to the plate and dish out the dough at this point. Mommy's bank account has been cut off for the most part when it comes to stuff like this. So now Andrew's left swinging in the wind, and I'll tell you what, folks, he's vulnerable. The Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is vulnerable right now, not only financially, but he's vulnerable to legal action. When people are hung out to dry like this, they make mistakes. And the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is no different. This man he's definitely on the very precipice of disaster, folks. Most charities are super sensitive to the need to comply with the strict laws around trustee benefit. Jalyan Mohan QC, a barrister, told the Sunday Times, "It is unfathomable to me that a grown-up charity like Prince Andrew's Charitable Trust got this so wrong." Yeah, it's unfathomable to me as well. They didn't get it wrong, in my opinion. They've been diverting funds forever, I'm guessing. Has anybody audited these people? Have we had a forensic accountant take a look at Pitch at Palace or Prince Andrew's finances? Of course we haven't. So what do you think? All of these irregularities are just coincidence? They're not just coincidence. This is the kind of thing that you see when a pattern is formed in a money laundering operation. Point blank, period. That is my opinion. A statement from PAC's trustees revealed the payments were made to Ms. Thirsk for her role as a director of the PAC subsidiaries. It added, in correspondence initiated by the current trustees, the Charity Commission raised a concern about the the money paid to Amanda Thirsk, which the Commission considered to be an unauthorized trustee benefit. So the Commission considered the payments to her unauthorized and against regulations. So Andrew was paying her out of the charity funds, and we're talking about a serious amount of money here, folks. £355,000. That's a lot of doskies. So, of course, they're going to look into this. Of course, the commission is going to have questions. Now, my question is, will the commission have teeth? And we know that a lot of these financial commissions do not have teeth. We know that a lot of these financial commissions are in the bag for the people that they're investigating. So I'd be hard-pressed to believe that the commission is going to be, somebody that really nails Andrew here or sinks their teeth into him and passes some sort of meaningful punishment. But at the same time, what it does is it adds context to the story we already know. It adds context to the bigger picture, and it shows Andrew for the scoundrel that he is. I mean, we can talk until we're blue in the face and, bring things up about Andrew, but people aren't going to believe all of the evidence until it's documented in such a manner as in these articles. So when these articles come out and you put them all together and you get the big picture, it's impossible for me to believe that anyone can come to any conclusion besides the fact that the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family has been up to his neck in all sorts of criminalistic money transactions. Zero doubt in my mind. Having considered the matter in light of the Commission's concerns, the trustees concluded that the best interests of the trust would be served by securing full reimbursement, which was agreed to be paid by the Duke of York's office. As the charity goes into liquidation, the trustees promised net assets from PACT and its subsidiaries will be distributed in line with the charity's purpose to worthy UK charitable causes. Oh yeah, I'm sure that none of the lords or the dukes or the Prince Andrews of the world are going to get their pockets lined with any of this money. I'm sure that you're just going to dole it out to charities that are acceptable, because we know that's how it works. Said nobody ever. Look, I don't trust any of these people at this point. I don't trust any of them to do the right thing. I don't trust these commissions. I don't trust these charities. And I especially don't trust the so-called charitable people that are funding these charities. All of these people have ulterior motives, and all of their motives are dark, sinister, and gross, it seems like. If you would have asked me before I started researching this case, I would have had a different opinion about a lot of these rich people. I never really pulled back the curtain to see what was going on behind the scenes, folks, all right? Not with people like this, not with the so-called polite society. I was focused on, arms dealers and terrorists and, CIA agents that were engaged in illegal black site activity. That's the sort of thing that I was interested in studying. But now, when I see all of this, there's zero doubt in my mind that all of these institutions have been corrupted and all of them are suspect. The Duke's Pitchat Palace arranged Dragon's Den-style events at which entrepreneurs would attempt to woo successful business people. Entrants for each event, usually 12, would attend reality TV-style boot camps to be mentored by a panel of advisors. Then they would pitch their ideas in a 3-minute speech to an audience of experts at a networking bash. So kind of like Shark Tank, I guess? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with that show either. I've only watched it a couple of times, but it seems like the same kind of premise. Mentored by these rich, gazillionaire jerk-offs. And then you make your pitch or whatever to try and get them to purchase your product or to put some money up to back your project maybe or however it goes. But either way, in my opinion, all of these projects from Prince Andrew were just another means to an end for him to launder this money. I am so convinced of that, folks. I am more convinced of that in this case than anything else. And again, that's why I've been so adamant about RICO. If RICO is good for anything, it is good for tracking down the money and making you pay for your criminalistic behavior when it comes to that money. So Prince Andrew is so wrapped up in illicit money laundering and money moving that I don't even know how people can deny it at this point. In my opinion, there is no chance that if a forensic accountant dug into Andrew's finances and really dug into them, that he would not find a bunch of irregularities. Winners chosen by attendees might typically walk away with a 40,000-pound package, including office space, investment and tech support, and hopefully success would follow. It was launched at St. James Palace in 2014 at an event at which Andrew shared the first ever royal selfie from the stage. Boy, isn't he hip? He has his finger on the pulse, huh? Isn't Prince Andrew, the Joe Exotic of the royal family, just so in touch with the people, folks? He even took a selfie from the stage. It quickly morphed into a well-known brand, trademarked by the prince and boasting a host of blue-chip sponsors. Yeah, every one of them is suspect in my opinion. That's right, I said it. I don't trust any of these banking people. I don't trust anybody in the financial sector. I don't trust any of them anymore. How about that? Soon its 15 full-time employees were organizing regular events in at least 17 countries, some of which had questionable records regarding corruption and human rights, including Bahrain, Mexico, Malaysia, China, Qatar, and communist Vietnam. You know what? I don't know if you can add Mexico to that list, honestly. Now, corruption, sure. Human rights, though, I don't think you could add them to a list with places like China and Qatar. I mean, come on now. Besides the cartel violence in Mexico and the basic corruption that you see within the police departments, I've been to Mexico a lot in my life, and I'm not talking about resort towns, folks. I grew up hanging out in Tijuana. From the age of about 16 till about 21, I was in Tijuana 8-10 times a year. And while it's not, the safest place in the world, obviously, I wouldn't put it on a list with China or Qatar or communist Vietnam, that's for sure. I mean, there's zero chance, listen to me folks, zero chance your boy is ever going to communist China. Zero chance. No thank you, no interest, I'll be moving along. No chance. Now, Mexico, on the other hand, like I was saying, fantastic place. Love Mexico, love Cancun, love Acapulco. Unfortunately, the cartel violence has made it pretty much a no-go at this point, but putting it on the list with these other countries, I think, is going a bit far. As a result of Pitch Palace's international success, the prince was once more able to begin living up to his Air Miles Andy nickname, taking at least 30 foreign trips thanks to the organization. Yeah, grifting off of the organization. I mean, really? He's using this organization to be able to travel around, to fund his travels, and to live his lavish lifestyle. How much of this money was he grifting? How much of this money that was dedicated to the charity or to the organization found its way into the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family's purse? I'm going to go out on a limb and say a lot. I don't have evidence to prove that, but that's my gut feeling. And when you follow all of the evidence that we have so far, it paints a very stark picture of the man that this Joe Exotic of the Windsor family truly is. Pitch-footed most bills, though taxpayers still coughed up £250,000 for the security that accompanied him. So that's nice to all my listeners over there in England, and there is a ton of you, by the way. Thank you for your support. But how does that make you feel? It would make me incensed to know that my tax dollars are going to a guy like Prince Andrew. I mean, it's bad enough with the politicians that our money protects here in America. Don't even get me started on that. Forget about all of them, too. But as a taxpayer in England, the whole monarchy is just so outdated. Now, I get it. I mean, it's a tradition and all of that, and I truly don't understand because I'm not an English citizen. I don't understand the true historical ramifications with the monarchy, right? I don't look at it in the same picture, perhaps. But at the end of the day, the English aren't the kind of people that are going to be put under anyone's thumb. They don't want to be ruled over by a monarchy at this point. So I think that the day is coming when the Windsor family and the monarchy itself is really put on the back burner in a place like England, because people are waking up to the fact that they no longer want to be subjects. People want to be citizens, man. And that's what's going on now. You're seeing it. A great awakening around the world. And here in America, my dad has been calling it the American Spring, and I think it's definitely a fitting title for it, because that's what's going on. Everybody is waking up to the corruption and to the criminals that are in charge around us. And when everyone finally does wake up and everybody gets on the same page and everybody understands that it's not about what side of the aisle you're on or what politician you're rooting for or you support, what it's about is them versus us, folks. And when I say them, I mean the elite, those in power who are making all of the rules. It's them against the rest of us, black, white, Mexican, Arab, Christian, Jewish, and everything else in between. Until we all get on the same page and we understand that our enemy is the fiduciary banking system and these debt lords that lord over us, until the day comes when we're all on the same page, we're all going to just continue to spin our wheels in neutral and be stuck in debt hell. But the day's coming when people are going to shake off those shackles, and I truly believe that I'll see it in my lifetime. Because enough is enough. People are sick to death of all of it. But after Prince Andrew's fall from grace, the investors quickly dropped their support, and the UK arm of the firm went into liquidation. Oh, I'm sure it did. And I bet all of the paperwork somehow was missing. It ended up with Hillary Clinton's phone and all the bleach bit information that she had, right? I'm sure that's where it all ended up. It was forced to delete the webpage hailing its 35 key backers and 5 big businesses, Advertising Week Europe, KPMG, Aon, Standard Chartered, and Gravity Road, say they will no longer be working with the charity. Yeah, I'm sure that they have all their own scumbags working for their company as it is. They can only support grifters and thieves that haven't been caught yet. That's how the fiduciary banking system works. That's how guys like Jess Staley work. That's how guys like Glenn Dubin worked. It is now known how much this costed the charity. It is now known how much this costed the charity, but KPMG was paying them £100,000 a year. The global firm has since distanced itself from the scandal by removing all mention of the Duke from its website in hope of rebuilding its network of backers. Well, that's your only chance, right? You got to get rid of that guy, just like Victoria's Secret had to get rid of Wexner, and you have to start bottom up. Hope you brought your lunchbox. I hope you have your work boots on, because it's going to be a big, long process to rebuild your brand after you were in bed with a scoundrel like the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Prince Andrew was dramatically sacked from public duty after being called into a meeting with his mother, the Queen, last November. Did he get spanked too? I wonder if Mummy put him over her knee and gave him a spanking. Sources close to the Queen had originally denied she summoned her son from Windsor for crisis talks amid the furor over his interview about convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. They insisted it was business as usual for the beleaguered royal, and they angrily hit back at media coverage of the debacle, saying the public trouncing of the prince was turning into a personality-motivated witch hunt. No, it's not. We're very focused on what's going on here, okay? Not a witch hunt, not for me anyway. My focus has solely been on the prince. I haven't demeaned his family or his kids, none of that nonsense. The Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is not going to talk his way out of this. He's not going to spin his way out of this. He's not going to have one of his high-powered, high-profile PR people talk his way out of this. This man needs to answer questions. This man needs to answer for what he has done. But his visit to the flood-hit towns of Fish Lake and Stainforth in South Yorkshire was called off as big businesses abandoned him because of his toxic links to Epstein and allegations he had sex with the pedophile's victim and survivor, Virginia Roberts, when she was 17. Public confidence in him was also on the rocks after a poll found just 1 in 20 people who watched the Newsnight special were convinced by his bizarre alibis, including being in Pizza Express on the night Virginia claims they had sex in London. 1 in 20 people, folks. Think about that for a minute. We're not talking about your neighbor John. We're not talking about the local scout leader. We're not talking about your local disgusting molester priest. Nope, we're not talking about any of that stuff. We're talking about the Prince of England, blood royal of England, and 1 in 20 people believed what you had to say? This isn't the old days, right? You can't round us all up and chop off our heads or put us in the Tower of London, you bumbling fool. So you best just come forward and answer the questions, or guess what? You'll be pestered and followed by this for the rest of your pathetic life. It has emerged that the Duke's ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, who remains close to Andrew, was the driving force behind the royal's decision to conduct his disastrous TV interview that blew up in his face. Well, we can't thank Fergie for much, right? Because she's another reprehensible human who had her hand in Jeffrey Epstein's pocket. But shoving her buddy here, her beau, her lover, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family towards that interview was a solid move on her part. She really helped the cause because he did more in that interview to out himself than we could ever do here on this podcast or anywhere else. There's nothing like watching someone go down in flames due to their own words. The Duke issued a statement confirming he was, with his mother's permission of course, stepping down from public duties for the foreseeable future. He lost his $250,000 annual income from the sovereign grant as a result. I don't believe it. I don't believe that he's not getting any dough from his royal ties. He's definitely getting something on the cuff. Somebody's dropping him off envelopes. He's getting the abuse, whatever it may be. Somebody's hooking this dude up. There's no way this guy isn't running around living in poverty. Stop it. But he kept his cash handouts from his mother's Duchy of Lancaster estate, which turned a £21.7 million profit last year, and provides the Queen and her children with a private income. Andrew also kept his Grace and Favour Royal Lodge home, which he has spent £7.5 million renovating in recent years, and taxpayer-funded police bodyguards. Those have to go. This isn't a head of state. This isn't a man who's a politician. Why does he have taxpayer-funded bodyguards? That's BS. If the Queen wants to pay for her son to have some bodyguards, cool, that's on her. But the people of England, they shouldn't have to pay for that shit, and I'm sure the people of England don't want to pay for it. The royal residence in Windsor Great Park was gifted to him by Her Majesty in 2003 when he split from the Duchess of York and the couple sold their Sunninghill Park mansion in Ascot to a billionaire Kazakh oil tycoon who paid £15 million, £3 million over asking price, and then raised it to the ground. Because that's what you usually do. You buy something for $3 million £3 million over the asking price, and then you burn it down to the ground. God. Obvious to me, okay? Obvious to me that, again, there was some financial irregularities going on, especially in that deal. There needs to be questions asked, folks. This is bad stuff. This is all obvious financial crimes right in everyone's face. The former couple bought a 7-bedroom luxury chalet, which has previously boasted 6 full-time staff and was available to rent for more than £22,000 a week for £18 million in 2014 in the hope of passing it down to their daughters Beatrice and Eugenie. But Chalet Hilaria is suddenly at the center of a new and ugly chapter in the seemingly never-ending compendium of embarrassing situations to befall the royal couple, now both 60 years old. We talked about this the other day. This is about the lawsuit going on between Prince Andrew, Fergie, and the owners of the chalet who said that they haven't paid their rent. It emerged this week that the duo are subject of an aggressive court proceeding pursued by the original owner of the Chalet Hilaria, a former acquaintance to whom they owe the considerable sum of £6.7 million. Court papers filed by this anonymous individual's law firm, Etudes du Ritz, say that a chunk of that sum was due to be repaid by December 31st. I mean, come on, pay your bills, Prince Andrew. All right? Everybody else is paying their bills. Everybody else who can is paying their bills anyway. Why are you skipping out on paying your bills, Prince Andrew? Where's your money at? What, you don't have your buddy Jeffrey Epstein to reach into their pocket and throw you some fazools here? Come on, I know you have another corrupt oligarch somewhere. I'm sure there's some some sicko in Uzbekistan or some oligarch from China or the Middle East who would love to own you by giving you some dough. Why don't you reach out to one of them? However, more than 4 months on it remains outstanding according to sources, despite messages from Sarah promising that payment would be made. Oh, shocking. Well, in other news, the sky is blue. I mean, Sarah Fergie's a liar? Paul, who would have ever guessed? The original owner, said to be a female beneficiary of a trust fund, is believed to have sold Chalet Hilaria to the Yorks in November 2014 for 22 million Swiss francs, roughly 18 million pounds. To raise the funds, the Duke and his ex-wife took out a mortgage for 16 million francs, or 13.25 million pounds. The remaining 6 million francs was to have been paid in cash, with each stumping up half. But for reasons that are unclear, they never settled that portion of the bill. Oh, I know what the reason is. Because they can't grift that money. They can't steal and launder money right now while they're under such scrutiny. That's my opinion. That's why they've run out of cash. That's why the well has run dry. Their whole entire life was about, juggling these funds and diverting funds from this place and that place and making sure it ends up in their account. You don't think that the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family running around with these oligarchs knows a thing or two about how to defer money and hide money? I kind of think he does. Instead, the royal couple struck a deal with the vendor to defer payment by 5 years until the end of 2019. They agreed to then pay 8 million francs, representing the initial sum plus interest. And, you think as the creditor, right? Oh, this is, the Prince of England. We're not going to have to worry about chasing this guy down. He's going to pay his bills. This guy will be legit. We'll get our dough. And if he can't come up with it, his mom will. But no. This guy he's on the ropes, folks. I'm telling you right now, Andrew is on the ropes. Since withdrawing from royal duties in November, Prince Andrew, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, has been forced to rely on a small Navy pension, estimated at around £20,000 a year, along with a reported annual allowance from the Queen of around £250,000 a year. So he's getting a £250,000 allowance from Mummy. Isn't that nice? And then £20,000 from his former military service, I guess. So I think that his mom should take away that $250,000, and this dude should be forced to live on the £20,000 a year like an average person. And let's just see how much he likes his life. Sarah Ferguson, meanwhile, has lost a string of commercial contracts, and she should have. She's a reprehensible human being, in my opinion. And the Duke now faces expensive legal bills, having hired Gary Bloxham, a criminal law specialist who represents ultra-high net worth individuals in international jurisdictions, to represent him in litigation relating to the Epstein affair, along with one of Britain's leading extradition lawyers, Claire Montgomery, QC. During Andrew's disastrous BBC interview in November, he said that he stayed in Epstein's palatial 71st Street home because it was a convenient place to stay, and it was honorable to end his friendship with the financier pedophile in person. Yeah, I'm not going to rehash how I feel about that. I'm on record about how I feel about that at this point, and it's gross. The Queen's second son likened the 21,000 square foot mansion to a railway station due to the fact that there were people coming in and out of the house at all the time. Pushed on why he stayed at the home of a convicted sex offender, he said, "Now I went there with the sole purpose of saying to him that because he had been convicted, it was inappropriate for us to be seen together." Boy, I wish I had a good English accent, because I'd read all of this in an English accent, and I want to do that. But boy, my English accent is terrible. I mean, is this guy for real? It's just so laughable to me that he would think that anyone would believe this, that anyone would buy this bullshit. The insider, however, believes Epstein asked Andrew to New York and then invited a number of young women to meet him. And we discussed that on last night's Daily Drop, so if you missed that episode, make sure you go back and check it out. "I think that it was Epstein who invited Andrew to NYC," she told the Mail on Sunday. "The girls were going to Epstein's house specifically to meet Andrew, not just Epstein." Yeah, and that's how it worked for Andrew and Epstein, right? That's how Epstein operated. He would always have these girls around for his buddies, his quote-unquote buddies, his academic buddies, people like Andrew, and any other way that he can maneuver himself to be in a position of power over these people is the avenue that Epstein would take. And Andrew, as dumb as he is, as much of a buffoon as he is, walked face first right into the trap that Epstein laid for him. And now, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family must reap what he sows. If you'd like to contact me, you could do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All right, folks, until later on, I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and I hope you all enjoy your Mother's Day.